Hey y'all, welcome to a new edition of Know Your Insurance. Let's get started. Hey y'all, Jimmy Goodwin with TWFG Insurance, and today we're going to start our educational series called Know Your Insurance, and we're going to start with the Homeowners Edition. Hi there, in this video we're going to talk about your homeowners insurance, and what I'm going to do is answer the most common questions that I get from homeowners about their homeowners insurance, or I get from people who've had a bad experience with their homeowners insurance. And so hopefully you can learn from them. Number one question I get is, what is not covered by my homeowners insurance? And that's a huge question, right? Now I'll go over some circumstances that aren't covered, some what they call perils that aren't covered by your homeowners insurance, and they are damage caused by flood, surface water, water that backs up from sewers and drains, earth movement such as earthquakes, water slides. Nuclear damage isn't covered. Now, I know that we don't have that problem here in Georgia, but you know, it could happen. Also, one thing you don't think about is war. War is not covered. So if an enemy comes over here and starts bombs your house, you're really just out of luck. The insurance company is not going to pay for that. Also, some things, some like tangible goods, property that isn't covered is any aircraft, any RVs, any motorized vehicles, with the exception of things that you would use to maintain your property, such as a riding lawnmower and things like that. Also, boats that have a horsepower of 50 horsepower or more are not covered. And of course, anything that is done intentionally is not covered. Next question that was asked of me is, what happens if I have a fire, and how do I get my personal property replaced? The answer to this question depends on what kind of personal property coverage you have. Do you have replacement cost coverage, or do you have actual cash value coverage? And so I'm going to answer that for the actual cash value coverage first, because it'll help me explain the replacement cost coverage. If you have actual cash value coverage, essentially everything that is destroyed, they're going to depreciate, which means that, let's say you have a television that costs you $400, right? And it's 3 years old. That television may be worth $37, and that's what the insurance company is going to give you for it, not a penny more. So you don't want to have actual cash value coverage. What you'll find is that a lot of insurance agents, in order to bring the premium down, they're going to mark that actual cash value coverage so that way they can get the sale. You want to make sure you don't have that. Now, for replacement cost coverage for your contents, what's going to happen is, if you've had a big loss, you're going to give a list of your personal property to the adjuster and what the value is. And what they're going to do is they're going to go into their system, they're going to figure out what the actual cash value is, and they're going to cut you a check for the actual cash value of whatever you lost. Now, when you go out and you replace it, you send the adjuster the receipt. They're going to send you the difference in what the actual cash value was and what it cost to replace it, as long as it is of like, kind, and value. So you can't have a 36-inch screen and go out and buy a 60-inch screen and expect the insurance company to pay the difference. Now, I think the most important question is, for how do you get your personal property replaced, is how do you know what you have? That's where you're going to end up losing money. Can you remember everything that you bought that's in your house? I can't. It's important to have an inventory of the things that you have in your house. Because if you don't, I promise you, you're going to miss. You're not going to remember everything, and you're going to lose money. Next question I got was, if I have water leaking up through the sewers, am I covered? Well, on the standard policy, you're not covered. So you have to make sure that you have the water backup and sewer endorsement to your policy. It's fairly cheap, and I would recommend that you have it. Person asked me, hang on, is my boat covered? I think I covered that earlier, but the answer is if it's over 50 horsepower, it's not going to be covered. Next question was, I have antiques listed on my policy. If I have a total loss, how do I make sure that I get paid the right value? Well, if you have it's called scheduled personal property. If you've scheduled personal property on your policy and you've listed what the value of that personal property is, and you have it correct, and when you have a loss and the adjuster goes out to find out what it really was worth, and if your value adds up to what their value is, they're going to pay that out. If it doesn't add up, then you're probably going to have to get a third party involved to establish what the value of that property was. But once that's all done, they'll pay you out what it's worth, as long as you had it declared on your policy for the right amount. The next question is, my neighbor's tree fell on my fence. Is it covered by my insurance or theirs? Well, the answer to that is it's covered. The short answer is it's covered by your homeowner's insurance, not your neighbor's, because it's an unintentional act of God, and your neighbor's not responsible for what the wind does. Now, last question I'm going to answer is, if I have water damage from a rainstorm, am I covered? Well, it depends on what kind of water damage you're talking about. So if it's water damage that comes in from, let's say your shingles are blown off, or part of your roof is blown off and water comes in that way, you are covered. If it's water damage caused by blowing rain, yes, you are covered. Otherwise, if it's water that just comes down and hits the surface, you're not going to be covered. That's flood insurance, and you'll have to have a different policy. On a side note, did you know that over 80% of flood claims are by people who did not live in a flood zone and were not required to have flood insurance? Yep, that's true. Anyway, if you have any questions about your homeowner's policy, or if you have any questions about coverage, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions and to make sure that you're protected correctly, whether you're a customer of ours or not. Thanks so much.